I returned home exhausted from a business trip, only to overhear my 4-year-old daughter tell my wife through the door crack, "Mommy, between my two daddies, I like Michael better. Can I go to the amusement park with him again?" My ice-cold wife, Emily, booped Anna's nose, smiling. "Of course, sweetheart. He's your real father." Michael happened to be Emily's first love. The paternity test results lay before me. I chain-smoked 3 cigarettes before mustering the courage to open the envelope. My secretary, Stephen, walked into the smoke-filled office, frowning. "Mr. Wilson, we secured the Synergy Group project." He placed thick documents on my desk. "Leave them," I rasped. The papers trembled in my hands as I finally read the verdict. Anna, the child I'd cherished for 4 years, shared no biological relation with me. The truth crystallized with cruel clarity. Years ago, Emily had unexpectedly prepared candlelit dinner after treating me with perpetual indifference. We drank vintage wine until precautions were forgotten. Instead of her usual reproach about unprotected sex, she'd calmly claimed, "It's my safe period." Later, when this child-averse woman announced her pregnancy, I'd been elated. During her difficult labor, I swore to spare her further pain and got a vasectomy. How foolish! She'd known exactly whose child this was all along. Our marriage had always been transactional. When her family business faltered, my parents offered financial rescue. The catch? I'd secretly loved Emily since college, though she never reciprocated. Michael, her college sweetheart studying abroad, remained her true heart's choice. For 5 years, I believed time and devotion could melt her frost. After Anna's birth, when Emily began smiling more and initiating conversations, I thought I'd finally reached her. The reality? My entire family had been laughing behind my back. Even our daughter knew about her other daddy. My phone buzzed with Emily's rare text. "Stephen said you're back. Anna keeps asking for you." A bitter smile twisted my lips. Last week's surprise homecoming had revealed their bigger surprise. Every fiber of my being screamed for confrontation. But not before Anna. I stared at the legal documents. Stephen had delivered divorce papers waiting for signatures beneath the project contracts. The Wilson-Johnson alliance would end tonight. But first, I needed to ensure Anna's future security. Michael might be her biological father, but the corporate empire she stood to inherit carried only Wilson's name. So I quietly left home and moved into an apartment closer to my office. A whole week passed. Only now did she notice I'd returned from my business trip. That night when I was furious, I still sent her a message. Told her I'd be busy lately and it'd be more convenient to stay near the office. Emily didn't even see it. Or maybe she swiped away the notification without bothering to read the content. Thinking about this, I suddenly felt utterly exhausted. Was I wrong to seek genuine affection in this arranged corporate marriage? For the first time, I didn't reply to Emily's message. She's never had much patience with me anyway. When I didn't respond, she called immediately. The moment I answered, her accusatory tone lashed out. "John, didn't you see my message? Sorry, I'm working late." "Late again? Do you even remember you're a married man? Anna keeps crying for her daddy. How can you do this to our daughter?" I stayed silent. Truthfully, I wanted to ask Emily, did she remember being a married woman? Did she remember Anna was conceived with another man? But staring at our family photo on the desk showing 3 happy faces, I swallowed the words. "Anna's sick. She wants pastries from Hedgie. Bring them to the hospital." She coldly hung up after dropping a pin location. Thinking of Anna's sweet face calling me daddy, my heart softened. After all, I'd raised her through every diaper change and feeding. I drove to Hedgie for her favorite custard buns and chicken feet. Rushing to the hospital, at the hospital room door, Anna's cheerful voice stopped me. "Daddy Michael, I took my medicine like a brave girl today." I froze, peering inside. A young doctor in white coat smiled. "Michael, Emily's college sweetheart." He affectionately ruffled Anna's hair. That's my good girl. Emily stood watching them, tenderness softening her features, an expression I'd never seen in our 5 years of marriage. The trio looked so natural together, like a real family. Biologically speaking, weren't they exactly that? My chest tightened as if stuffed with cotton. Clutching the hedgy bag, I realized I was the world's biggest fool. My metaphorical cuckold's horns glowing neon green, rooted to the spot. I couldn't move forward or retreat. Michael noticed me first. His eyebrows arched above gold-rimmed glasses. John? Hearing my name, Emily's face iced over. She turned with frosty eyes. What took you so long? Noticing the hedgy bag, her lips pressed thin. Michael already brought Anna dinner. So the treats I queued hours for were unnecessary? She knew exactly how hard it was to get hedgy takeout. John chuckled, trying to diffuse the tension. Anna didn't eat much today. We can save this for a midnight snack. Upon hearing midnight snack, Anna immediately clapped her hands. I want snacks. Emily shook her head disapprovingly. No, you can't eat after brushing your teeth. You'll get cavities. Michael countered. She's still growing. Let her eat if she wants. Anna looks too thin anyway. Emily sighed helplessly at Michael. You always spoil her. The clever Anna caught her mother's reluctant consent and cheered. Though I'd already entered the hospital room, I remained an outsider unable to interject. Seeing Emily's acquiescence, Michael reached out to me with a smile. John, give me the pastry bag. He said it with such natural authority, as if he were the husband in this family unit. His challenging gaze knew full well that had I made the same suggestion, Emily would have flatly refused. She never tolerated disagreements about Anna's upbringing. Sudden rage surged through me. Since entering this room, Emily had barely acknowledged me. Michael kept provoking me, and Anna hadn't even called me dad once. Was my past submissiveness making Emily think she could humiliate me like this? Raising her ex-Michael's child while they flaunted their intimacy right before me? Did they truly consider me such a pushover? Staring at Michael's outstretched, elegantly veined hand, I suddenly laughed coldly and threw the pastry box into the trash. No need. If she's already had dinner, there's no reason for snacks. Both Michael and Emily froze. Anna reacted first, bursting into tears when her promised treat vanished. I want snacks. Daddy's mean. I hate Daddy. Emily snapped. John, have you lost your mind? Michael quickly picked up the sobbing Anna. Shoo, sweetheart. Michael will buy you more. Don't cry. The little girl hiccuped in his arms, tiny fists flailing. Mean Daddy. I don't want John. Only Michael. Emily glared at me icily. She's already sick. Is this how a father behaves? I stared at her, suddenly finding her delicate features repulsive. Since I'm such a failure as a father, I said slowly, good thing there's a ready replacement here. She instinctively frowned, ready to scold me, but paused when our eyes met. The three of you make a perfect family. Stop forcing paternal responsibilities on me. Emily's face drained of color as I turned to leave. To my surprise, she chased after me, catching up at the elevators. Grasping my arm breathlessly, she demanded, John, what's wrong with you today? I stopped and faced her. Wrong with me? My bitter laugh echoed in the sterile hallway. I finally opened my eyes. John, are you feeling guilty? She paused for a moment, then sneered. What guilt? It's me who's asking you what nonsense were you spouting earlier? Even at this point, she remained as stubborn as a mule, refusing to admit anything, still trying to play me for a fool. Let's get a divorce. Suddenly, everything felt meaningless. I should have filed for divorce the moment I got that paternity test report. Instead, I foolishly clung to Anna, deluding myself that Emily might show me an ounce of compassion, only to end up humiliating myself here. Emily's face stiffened. Divorce? Why would you bring that up out of nowhere? I said quietly, Emily, you might not realize this, but I understand you better than you think. If you had nothing to hide, you wouldn't have chased after me. her face drained of color. I could feel her fingers trembling slightly where they gripped my arm. With a bitter smile, I shook my head and pried her hand loose before stepping into the elevator. As the doors closed, I saw Emily's lips quiver, wanting to speak, but finding no words. Returning to the downtown penthouse, I quickly packed my belongings. 5 years of marriage. Yet my possessions filled just one suitcase. Only when dragging my luggage back to the apartment did I notice Emily's multiple missed calls and frantic texts. John, did someone tell you something? Are you serious about divorce? You need to understand our marriage doesn't just concern us, but the Johnson and Wilson families. Reading this, I scoffed bitterly. I'd thought her pursuit showed some remorse. Turns out she's just worried about business alliances. But why should I care? When we married, my Wilson family resources saved her failing Johnson empire. Out of love, I'd consistently given favorable terms in all business dealings. What did I gain? A wife who only smiled when it suited her, and a child not my own. Was I really that easy to exploit? Ignoring Emily's messages, I contacted my lawyer to draft divorce papers. The attorney worked efficiently, emailing the documents next morning. After brief review, I forwarded them to Emily. Her call came instantly, ironic how she'd contacted me more these past 2 days than in 5 years of marriage. John, you're actually doing this? Emily's voice shook with anger, clearly unprepared for my resolve. As you see, I'm not joking. You realize there's no coming back from this? Her certainty almost made it sound like I'd regret the decision. Even now, determined to end things. That tone stung. Her confidence stemmed from knowing I loved her. Yet despite understanding my feelings, she'd chosen to trample them. I blinked hard, staring at the ceiling. I stepped aside for Michael. Isn't that what you wanted? What nonsense are you talking? How annoying. Emily hung up furiously. I'd assumed she'd sign the divorce papers quickly, but days passed without word from the Johnson family. That weekend, my parents unexpectedly summoned me for dinner, thinking it prudent to inform them about the divorce. I returned home. To my surprise, I found Mr. and Mrs. Johnson chatting amiably with my parents in the living room. Emily was unusually helping the live-in housekeeper in the kitchen. Anna dropped her toys and cried "Daddy" when she saw me, silencing the room. For pairs of parental eyes turned toward me. The setup was obvious. Emily had enlisted both families to intervene. No sooner had I sat down than my father dismissed the housekeeper with Anna. Emily says you want a divorce? He began sternly. You're not young anymore. You have a child. What's this nonsense? Mrs. Johnson seized the opening. John, we entrusted Emily to you. There's never been any conflict. Why this sudden decision? Have you? She trailed off meaningfully. Mr. Johnson adopted a man-to-man tone. I understand temptations exist, but marriage connects 2 families. Whatever issues you have, discuss them properly. Divorce isn't trivial. Think of Anna. Only my mother remained silent, though her disapproving gaze spoke volumes. Emily had clearly manipulated the narrative to cast me as the villain. My initial resolve for an amicable separation evaporated. Her audacity in mobilizing both families revealed staggering presumption. 5 years of my devotion had warped her self-awareness beyond reason. Did she truly believe I'd protect her secrets under these circumstances? Let's have Emily join us, I said coldly. She should hear why I'm insisting on this divorce. Emily emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands, wearing the ginger yellow dress I'd bought her early in our marriage. She'd hated the color then, never wearing it until this desperate charade. The transparent bid for reconciliation only deepened my resentment. She'd always known how to please me, yet chose not to for half a decade. Now she stood trembling, that damn dress hanging awkwardly, a silent plea for mercy. My bitter chuckle preceded the damning document I slapped on the coffee table. This is why? The words paternity test glared up at us. Emily turned deathly pale. clutching the sofa for support. When how, she stammered. Both sets of parents stared at the report, their earlier certainty crumbling. The first to pick up the paternity test report was my mother. She flipped straight to the last page, saw the results, and collapsed onto the sofa, clutching her chest. The DNA test results hit like a nuclear bomb. The Johnsons didn't even dare touch the document. So I think there's nothing left to discuss. After 5 years, I've done more than enough, I said quietly, turning to look at Emily, who stood pale and trembling. Sign the divorce papers soon. If you truly care about Anna's well-being, you should take her back to her biological father. Emily couldn't speak. Mr. Johnson's face darkened as he slapped his daughter hard across the cheek. Tears immediately pooled in her eyes. Must you hit her? Can't we talk this through? Mrs. Johnson tugged at her husband's arm protectively. Mr. Johnson shoved her away. This is your fault. You spoiled her into this disgrace. How dare you defend her after what she's done to the Wilsons? My mother opened her mouth to speak, but was silenced by his outburst. I stood up. The facts are clear. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, please take Emily and Anna home. Whatever family matters you need to discuss should be handled privately. I owe my parents an explanation. John, Mr. Johnson began awkwardly, but I remained firm. Discipline your daughter elsewhere. This performance isn't necessary. Emily stood frozen, seemingly stunned by how things had unraveled. Her father yanked her arm. Move. You think we need more humiliation? Mrs. Johnson dared not intervene, tearfully clutching Anna as they filed out. The planned family dinner never happened. After calming my parents, I returned to my apartment only to find Emily crouched by my door, hair disheveled. I'd changed the passcode when filing for divorce. Hearing footsteps, she looked up. Happy now? John, my father never laid hands on me until today. You made him hit me. She rose slowly, her mustard yellow dress accentuating her pallid complexion. The hallway light clearly revealed the angry handprint on her cheek. Did she expect pity showing me this? I only felt bitter irony. I don't understand how you dare come here. Whose child did you bear? Who's been lying to me for years while playing house? My voice hardened, the harshest words I'd ever spoken in our 5-year marriage. Her eyes reddened as I blocked her from entering. I filed for divorce. This isn't your place anymore. Must you be so cruel? I stared at her. You carried another man's child. Let Anna believe Michael is her real father. Made me the fool all these years. Who's cruel here? She had no answer. I know our marriage wasn't about love, but basic decency. Michael's back. Anna knows the truth. I'm stepping aside so your family can be whole. Isn't this best for everyone? No, it's not like that. Let me explain. One question. Is Anna Michael's child? She nodded miserably. So sign the divorce papers quickly, or I'll file an appeal. Don't say I didn't spare the Johnson family's dignity, I said coldly, shutting Emily outside. I won't leave unless you hear me out. Emily texted before resuming her vigil at my door. Irritation prickled at me. What was this? Some pathetic attempt at reconciliation? How laughable. They say delayed affection is worth less than weeds. Where was this effort when it mattered? Ignoring her, I retreated to my study. Midnight doorbell rings pierced the silence. John, please. I know I was wrong. Emily's tearful voice carried through the wood. Open the door. Let me explain. I stayed silent. 5 years together. How can you just throw that away? Give me another chance. The composed ice queen I'd known now sobbed like a street urchin outside my apartment. When neighborhood complaints flooded the residents' group chat, I dialed Michael. Come get your mess. He arrived swiftly, half coaxing, half dragging the hysterical Emily away. Next day, Michael requested a meeting playing peacemaker for his ex. Stirring my coffee, I scoffed. Thought you'd be celebrating my exit with your reunited flame. A bitter smile twisted his lips. That's what I believe too, before you showed up at the hospital that day. He launched into their star-crossed history, small-town overachiever scraping for scholarships, privileged heiress who let her prince chase dreams across oceans. 5-year promise. 4th-year collapse of the Johnson empire forcing Emily into my arms. She's tormented by guilt, feeling she betrayed your marriage first. I cut him off. And that excuse is knocking her up during our engagement week? Planting your bastard as my heir? Michael's face paled. No amount of romanticized backstory could whitewash their betrayal. That night, I'd heard Emily tell Anna the truth. Timeline snapped into focus our wedding eve bachelorette party footage showing Michael in the background. The same man she'd boldly introduced as her first love at our reception, who'd friend me before catching the next flight back to America. Why bother with this charade? I demanded as he gulped coffee. You clearly hate playing ambassador. The porcelain cup clattered against its saucer. Across the table, Michael's fingers trembled slightly before stilling into a banker's calm. Because unlike you, I actually care what happens to her. His voice carried winter's edge, breath fogging the window pane between us and the bustling Manhattan street outside. A flicker of embarrassment crossed his eyes. Because Emily told me last night she's realized she's in love with you. I froze. You're filing for divorce. And now you suddenly discover she loves me? Don't believe me? Michael's voice turned bitter. Why do you think I kept provoking you? I noticed her mentioning your name more frequently these days. Oh, so her love manifests as freezing me out daily while cheating behind my back, even making me raise another man's child? I laughed mirthlessly. Emily has strong pride. Maybe her subconscious couldn't accept betraying her first love for you. Hence the coldness to hide her true feelings. Michael argued passionately. Checking my watch, I realized grimly how idle I must be to waste time listening to Michael defend Emily. Enough. Tell Emily I've no interest in picking up her used shoes. She's unworthy. Michael shot up, chair screeching. John, that's too far. A masked woman rose from the booth behind Michael, removing her face covering to reveal Emily's pale, tear-streaked face. John, you called me used shoes? Her voice fractured. I know I made terrible mistakes years ago, but we've built so much over time. Can't you forgive me this once? Emily. Michael gripped her shoulders. Look at how he degrades you. Why keep begging? I nodded. Exactly. You've finally reunited with your first love. Anna gets to be with her biological father. Why obstruct their happy ending? Tears spilled down Emily's cheeks. If you can't accept Anna, I'll compensate you. We'll have another child. Emily. Michael looked appalled. How could you? Anna would be devastated. Nausea churned in my gut. After tricking me into raising another man's child for 4 years, your grand solution is bearing me a replacement? How inventive. Emily. Face reality. You're not my only option. Her face crumpled at my words. I turned to leave. John. John. Emily's desperate cries followed me until Michael restrained her. Give up. Emily. Can't you see? I'm the only one who's loved you faithfully all along. Michael's interference destroyed any hope of Emily signing divorce papers amicably. I engaged lawyers to file immediately. The ensuing scandal humiliated the Johnson family into forcing Emily's compliance. 1 month later, I held the divorce decree at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Emily had visibly withered, her former haughtiness extinguished. John, she ventured hesitantly at the exit. Could we have one last meal together? I shook my head. Let's pretend we're strangers henceforth. Her lips trembled before she dissolved into sobs. Walking past her toward my car, I glimpsed Michael leading Anna over to embrace Emily. What remorse could Emily possibly harbor now, when I'd loved her wholeheartedly? She'd pined for Michael, deeming our marriage a betrayal of her first love. Yet when I severed ties, she clung to vanished affection while ignoring Michael's steadfast presence. Did Emily truly understand love? She merely chased phantoms, First Michael, now me, forever blind to those actually within reach. As my mother resumed arranging blind dates, I pondered Emily's tragic flaw. She loved the abstraction of love itself, never the living, breathing person before her. I wasn't opposed to the idea either, but finding a suitable marriage partner wasn't that easy. However, when Emily learned I'd started dating through matchmaking, she called me late at night. She didn't speak when I answered, just kept sobbing. After 2 or 3 such calls, I simply blocked her. 6 months later, I hit it off with my business partner Jessica, deputy general manager of the Summit Group. After dating for a few months, we decided to marry. Somehow Emily found out about my engagement to Jessica and completely lost it. She showed up drunk outside our new home late at night. Exasperated, I had Michael take her away. Thankfully, Jessica was understanding. She knew about the messy history between Emily and me from my previous marriage and didn't comment. For our honeymoon, I specifically cleared my schedule to take Jessica abroad. When we returned, Michael came to see me looking devastated. He said Emily had finally agreed to marry him. I nodded. Congratulations. Persistence pays off. He smiled bitterly. Only because she heard you took your new wife on a honeymoon. She accepted my proposal out of spite. I sighed. Wasn't this pointless? Even I, the one who'd been cheated on, had moved on. Why was Emily still competing? Patting Michael's shoulder, I could only wish him luck as I saw the uncertainty in his eyes. I next saw Emily at the maternity ward of City General Hospital. Jessica was 3 months pregnant, and we'd come for her checkup. Coincidentally, we ran into Michael and Emily there. She was already showing, apparently further along than Jessica. Michael was carefully supporting her, but Emily's face lacked any trace of the tenderness she'd once shown him. If you're too busy, just leave. Why bother coming to my checkup if you're going to act like this? Isn't this your child anyway? She snapped. When I was pregnant with Anna, John would've, hearing my name invoked in this context. I found it terribly awkward and quickly steered Jessica away. During Lunar New Year, my mother mentioned offhandedly, that Johnson girl finally got back with her first love, but they're not doing well. Last week at the mall, I saw her alone with Anna, huge belly, trying to shop while the child threw a tantrum. She started hitting the poor girl right there in public. Anna's cries, TSK, broke my heart. She did call me grandma for years. You know, my mother shuddered. Don't you dare get any ideas. The baby in your proper wife's belly is your real granddaughter. I chuckled as she glared at me. Do I seem that confused? Ironically, Michael chose that very night to ask me out for drinks. I ignored his message. While keeping Jessica company during the New Year's vigil, my phone kept vibrating. Checking it, I found multiple drunken voice notes from Michael. Is love easier than commitment? I thought finding Anna and winning Emily back meant our family could start fresh. Why has everything gone wrong? She compares me to you constantly, says even when you were busy. You drop everything when she needed you. His voice broke into sobs. Jessica overheard and looked surprised. You're still in contact with him? He's the homewrecker who stole your wife. How can you be friends? Smiling calmly, I put away my phone and pulled her close. Suddenly her eyes widened with realization. Wait, you did this on purpose, didn't you? How could it not be intentional? I deliberately kept Michael's contact information, occasionally chatting and confiding in him. I'd casually flaunt my loving relationship with Jessica in front of him. Compared to this, his marriage with Emily wasn't as blissful as he'd imagined. After all, Michael didn't have my family's wealth. Supporting Emily meant relying entirely on his own efforts. Though Michael had returned from studying abroad with stellar credentials and was once the hospital's rising star, he'd compromised too many career opportunities to accommodate Emily. The administration had grown disillusioned with him. Without institutional support, he'd plateaued at most as a senior attending physician. He often vented to me, increasingly treating me like his closest confidant. Sometimes I found it darkly amusing. Michael mentioned that after Emily's pregnancy, he brought his parents from their hometown to help care for Anna and the expectant Emily. Proximity bred constant friction between his mother and wife. When Emily had been my spouse, my mother had merely disapproved of her aloofness without overt criticism. Now their household drowned in petty squabbles. Seeing Emily's current predicament filled me with grim satisfaction. Don't mistake this for pettiness. The moment Emily chose to pin Anna's parentage on me, she sealed her fate. As for Michael, he's no innocent either. What kind of man sleeps with his ex-girlfriend the night before her wedding? He'd known all along Anna was his biological child. They'd both relished my humiliation. Why shouldn't I now enjoy watching their marriage implode? Jessica teased me, "You're such a hypocrite. Playing the magnanimous fool so convincingly, even Mom thinks you're naive. Really, you're just scheming through clenched teeth." After Lunar New Year, Jessica gave birth to our twins. Around this time, I learned from Michael that Emily had terminated her pregnancy. On New Year's Eve, after explosive arguments with Michael's mother, she'd fled to her parents' home. Without warning, she'd undergone induced labor at a private hospital for her nearly 7-month fetus, then mailed the remains to Michael's parents. His mother reportedly fainted upon receiving the package and now demanded their divorce. The Johnson family retaliated by hiring protesters to harass Michael at his city hospital, forcing his administrative leave. Their lives had shattered beyond repair. After sending Michael a framed portrait of my new family, I blocked him permanently. Watching their ruin finally eased the lingering bitterness in my heart. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more exciting stories. And drop your thoughts on this one in the comments. See you next time.